Mika Pfeiffer.
E te māngai te whare, tēnā koe, o te rā inga membo te whare nei tēnā tātou katoa. Mr Speaker, I'm happy to take a call on the Papawai and Kaikokirikiri Trust Amendment Bill in its second reading. As an uri of Papawai, o te whānau Ropiha, as a practising mihingari of the Anglican Church, and of course as the local Member of Parliament for the electorate of Ikoro Rāwhiti, in which this bill stems from, I stand in support of the intentions of modernising the Papawai and Kaikokirikiri Trust Board. Sir, the convention, and I want to acknowledge the local member who has brought this bill to the House, the convention of what I consider an non-contentious bill, like this one is, sir, is that you generally reach out across all members of the House to ensure that all views are taken in consideration when bringing this bill to the House to ensure its safe passage. And I just want to make that point because in this case that wasn't done. And I want to stand and go on record that we've got some fine people in this House that have whakapapa to Papawai. And I particularly want to acknowledge the co-leader of the Greens, and of course we've got another colleague there in Ron Mark, and myself, and also I've got colleagues from this side of the House who also have whakapapa to Papawai. But back to the bill, sir. Labour does support it, and we will go. And I wanted to share a bit of history around the word and the kupu of Papawai. Papawai has been a home to Wairapa Māori for hundreds of years. The word Papawai literally means, sir, a variety of fern root, or water that lies on blue-coloured clay. Some say Papawai means the tears of Papatuanuku, when she was separated from her husband, Ranginui. Still very much a working marae today, sir. It has historic and cultural significance to New Zealand. In the last years of the 19th and 20th century, Papawai was not merely the most outstanding marae in Wairarapa, but one of the most important culturally in Aotearoa. At the peak of its national importance, Papawai was the largest marae in the country and the place where the Māori Parliament was built. Papawai was revealed throughout the country as a place of great learning. A whare wānanga, school of learning, stood at Papawai. The oral history taught by important tohunga experts was recorded by the Hoane Te Whatahoro jury and riwai. Much of the basis of Māoritanga that is part of the New Zealand school curriculum has its roots in the teaching from the wānanga houses of learning. Papawai and Kaikokirikiri Trust Board was incorporated under the Religious, Charitable and Educational Trust Acts of 1908. And the college established by that board was destroyed by fire in the year 1932. And the trust funds were insufficient for the re-establishment and maintenance of the college as set out in the trust deed. Sir, the purpose of the bill, the intention of the bill, which is, like I said, uncontroversial, is that it intends to modernise the trust, the Papawai and Kaikokirikiri Trust Act of 1948. And the objectives of this bill is to ensure the relationship between Papawai and Kaikokirikiri Trust Board, the Bishop of Te Upoko o Te Ika and the tangata whenua of Wairarapa is upheld. The intention is also to establish a more robust nomination process of board members, to provide fairer distribution of funds for tangata whenua Wairarapa and facilitate the long-term development of lands. And the bill also changes the way the Trust applies its funding and no longer limits distribution to just Anglican church schools. The board, for example, must appropriate income for each financial year to a fund to be called the Papawai and Kaikokirikiri Scholarship Fund, and the bill sets out the process for which this fund is limited to. So the bill also changes the make-up and appointment process for the board. It reduces the board from 10 members to 8 and makes some minor amendments to definitions within the original 1943 Act. The bill further deals with the alienation of land, which I will mention again later, allowing the board more flexibility as to how it manages the land under its control. And it was interesting that the member who has brought this bill to the House mentioned in his opening address how the land was donated. Sir, and the bill changes the way the board's investments are managed. So, Sir, that's the intention behind the bill, and anything that allows the descendants greater control over the lands and the running of the trust, and we here, Labour, support that. But, Sir, I want to turn to the report provided by the Māori Affairs Select Committee. I'm not a member of that Select Committee, but I want to congratulate the Chairman under his chairmanship and the members on that board for doing a very good job in bringing this bill to the House. I note that we had 2 written submissions and 1 oral submitter, and I just want to draw the House's attention to 2 points that was made as part of the Select Committee process. The one was on the definition of tangata whenua or wairarapa. I want to acknowledge the post-settlement entity group, Rangitane Tūmairā Trust, who just noted and gave some recommendations to the Māori Affairs Select Committee about making it really clear, are we talking about Ngāti Kahungunu and Rangitane, and made some also useful, I think, references to the fact of introducing the kupu of hapu. And so I see that the Select Committee considered and didn't feel that they should adjust the definition, but I think for future purposes, because you remember this trust is going to be around a lot longer once we've all gone, and I think it's important that we actually allow descendants of those hapu, of those iwi, also see themselves in this bill. And Sir, the other one was around, and I mentioned earlier, the tightening to sell or lease lands. I do want to commend the member who introduced that, making it really clear that the Kōpia lands, or the ones you've identified, Papawai and Kaikokirikiri, is protected under this bill. So it's very clear it cannot be sold. But making it really clear the clairvoy lands could potentially be sold or leased on, and so I just want to commend that particular amendment in this bill. Given our history around land losses in this country, it's something I'm very passionate about in this House, to ensure not one more acre is lost through as legislators. So I just want to acknowledge that under the Act, it was fairly broad, and that you could potentially sell that land. And in this amendment bill that you're bringing to the House, Sir, that you're making it really clear that you cannot sell those Kōpia lands. And so I just want to acknowledge that. Finally, Sir, I just want to comment on, again, one of the recommendations from Rangitane Tūmairā Trust, and that was the use of te reo. And I read the Ministry of Justice's response to how cumbersome it is to change not just this bill, because you have to actually change the entire Act, and that would take a long time, and of course we don't want to stop the passage of this bill. But Sir, can I just make the comment that in this country as legislators, and the fact that te reo Māori is official language of this country, it may be something that yourself as the Speaker or this House needs to address, that we shouldn't just be saying in future we should looking at introducing dual bills in this House, but we should have a more streamlined process, Sir, of existing acts, if so wish that the people subjected to those acts want a dual interpretation. And I just want to go on record saying that I read the reason why they won't do it, but I'm sure there's an opportunity here as the House that we should be looking at creating mechanisms where dual usage or multilingual, if that's what we want to get to, isn't prevented simply because it will create a whole lot of unnecessary work, and we have to draw the process out, Sir. So I just wanted to make that point, and hopefully that when we come to the committee stage, we might have some responses as why we didn't introduce the word hapu by the member, but all in all, sir, this is a very non-controversial bill. Labour does support it, and I commend it to the House. Kia ora tātou.
Te mana whakawa.
Nook.